In this video, I'll provide you with an overview of coconut oil. Coconut oil has been touted as a miracle fat loss food and thought to be the cure for all things evil. The point of these next two videos is to expose you to what coconut oil is and the truth behind what it may or may not do for your health. Coconut oil is derived from, well, a coconut. It's extracted from the meat of the coconut and is composed of over 90% saturated fats. Nutritionally speaking, it has been purported to have a positive impact on weight loss, hunger, metabolism, cholesterol levels, digestion, and more. Outside of the nutritional realm, it's even been suggested that it can enhance your skin, hair, and mood. I cannot speak to these benefits, so I'll stay within my nutrition scope. Further distancing coconut oil from the traditional sources of saturated fat is the fact that it can be found in both liquid and solid forms. When stored above 76 degrees Fahrenheit, it's in a liquid state. When stored below that temperature, it's in a solid state. But what really makes this tropical fat so desirable is that it's composed of medium chain fats, whereas most fats you're familiar with are composed of long chain fats. The next video discusses the unique benefits these types of fat may offer your health and exercise performance. In this video, we'll further explore medium chain fats. As I mentioned before, most fat sources are made up of long chain fats, also known as triglycerides. Coconut oil, however, is made up of roughly 50% medium chain triglycerides. This subtle difference has a profound impact on how each is handled within the body. To be used as fuel, long chain fats must be transported to the furnace, also known as your cell's mitochondria. The issue here, however, is that long chain fats need help from a special carrier molecule to get inside the furnace. Medium chain fats, however, need no such carrier and can enter the furnace readily. It's also noteworthy to mention that medium chain fats provide 8.3 calories per gram, whereas long chain fats provide 9 calories per gram. These unique characteristics have led to many exaggerated benefits regarding the impact they may have on health and weight loss. I'll discuss the biggest mistake you may be making with coconut oil in the next video. In this video, we'll further explore a coconut oil conundrum. The biggest mistake I see people make with coconut oil is adding it to their diet and thinking it has no repercussions. Yes, it has fewer calories per gram than traditional fat sources. Yes, it is readily used as fuel, whereas traditional fat sources are not. And yes, it has been shown to have a slightly positive impact on your metabolic rate. But many often lose sight of the fact that for every tablespoon they add to their day, that's an additional 114 calories. If they do not sub this coconut oil for something else, then they end up eating more calories than before. No wonder the weight doesn't come off. Keep in mind that although it's readily used as fuel, this prevents other nutrients and calories from being used. So sure, it's used readily, but this comes at the expense of would-be fuel in the form of carbohydrates or fat that now remains in storage. And lastly, yes, medium chain fats influence the production of ketone bodies, which may suppress your appetite. But the complex human body and interaction of other nutrients you eat throughout the day has a far greater impact on ketone production than just a spoonful of coconut oil. To date, no concrete evidence exists to show that adding coconut oil to your day significantly reduces appetite. Now, I know that didn't come out as a Paradise-inspired story about this tropical fat, but the bottom line is this. Coconut is a source of saturated fat and is made up of roughly 50% medium-chain fats. It may have a positive impact on various health and body composition parameters when substituted for other sources of fat, but more research is needed. If you enjoy it, eat it. Just aim to stay around my recommendation of a quarter of your fat sources coming from saturated fat. If you do add it to your day, be sure to start with a small serving, preferably between a half and full tablespoon. Too many medium-chain fats at once can lead to gastric distress and diarrhea. Next up, I'll take a crack at answering the question, what really makes us fat? In this video, I'll discuss the impact a high carbohydrate, high fat meal may have on your body composition. The blame game between carbohydrates and fat for the obesity epidemic has gone on long enough. Alone, no single nutrient is to blame. However, when combined, there's evidence to suggest this pair can have a gut-busting impact. When you consume carbohydrates, they're broken down into glucose. Glucose eventually reaches the blood, where it's either used as immediate energy or stowed away in the liver or muscle tissue with the help of insulin. Insulin's primary role is to keep blood glucose within normal limits. It does so by moving glucose to an appropriate location to be used as fuel or storage. Insulin production is influenced by carbohydrate choice and portion, as well as other components of your meal. In healthy individuals, insulin does its job well, which demonstrates that carbs alone are not to blame for the out-of-hand obesity epidemic. Dietary fat is broken down into fatty acids. Fatty acids are then transported to the mitochondria, or furnace, to be used as fuel, or they're stored for later. In the absence of glucose, fatty acids don't cause harm in your bloodstream, which is why several people have had great weight loss success following a high-fat, very low-carbohydrate, ketogenic diet. The way both carbohydrates and fat are metabolized is altered when both nutrients are present together in high amounts, such as after eating a half a pizza. This type of meal results in a significant rise in both glucose and fatty acids in the blood. The level of glucose in the blood is what determines the fate of the fatty acids, not the level of fatty acids in the blood. When you eat carbohydrates, your blood glucose levels rise. This triggers the release of insulin, which helps to normalize blood glucose levels. When insulin rises, it increases the activity of an enzyme that produces a molecule known as malonyl-CoA. This molecule blocks the helper molecule, CPT1, from assisting fat to getting inside the mitochondria where fat breakdown occurs. Instead, the fatty acids are redirected for storage, which may just give you a little more pudge around your middle. Let's chat about that next. In this video, we'll discuss how to pair carbohydrates and fat together at the same meal. Eating a carb-rich meal completely devoid of fats is like squatting 3 times your body weight. It's doable, but not without a ton of effort. This is especially difficult considering the most convenient foods available are often high in both carbs and fat. But just how many grams of the other macronutrient can you get away with before it becomes detrimental? Well, consider this neat study published in the American Journal of Physiology, Endocrinology, and Metabolism. researchers infused patients with either 4, 17, or 34 grams of carbohydrates per hour and assessed the rate of fat breakdown compared to baseline levels. They found that the greater the infusion of carbohydrates, the lower the rate of fat breakdown. Consuming 34 grams of carbs suppressed fat breakdown by more than 50%, and even 17 grams resulted in significant suppression of fat breakdown. Basic nutrition guidelines suggest steering clear of high carbohydrate, high fat foods, or at least eating them in moderation. Yes, think pizza, ice cream, and cheeseburgers. But it's difficult to eat a food devoid of one or the other. At this point, there isn't enough research to explicitly state that combining carbohydrates and fat at a meal will impair your physique goals. But if you consistently aim to keep the two nutrients separated as best as possible, you'll potentially reap some significant body composition changes. Here are a few strategies to consider to do so. Rather than evenly distributing your macronutrients across each meal, such as 45 grams of protein, 40 grams of carbs, and 20 grams of fat at each meal, keep carbohydrates and fat separate as often as possible. Bolster your pre- and post-workout meal with most of your carbohydrates and save the fat for other meals. Reducing the number of meals that contain a high amount of carbohydrates and fats will help to keep insulin levels suppressed, which will reduce the interference of fat breakdown. Even if you're able to do this for only one meal, you're still reducing potential fat storage, in theory. For meals that you do decide to include both fat and carbohydrates, use the 15-gram threshold as a guideline to minimize the potential negative impact on fat storage. At meals higher in fat, think over 25 grams, keep total carbohydrates from starches and grains to no more than 15 grams. For those meals higher in carbohydrates, think over 40 grams, keep direct sources of fat to fewer than 15 grams. If you distribute meals as mentioned above, you'll be doing it right. Here are a few sample swaps you can make to abide by the recommended strategies above. I cannot stress enough how limited this research is. However, the recommendations above may help provide you an additional 1 to 2% of benefit, which, over time, adds up. Why not make a slight change in your meal composition for a potentially large reward? That after watching the 17 videos in this course, you no longer fear fat. Fat won't make you fat. It plays numerous invaluable roles in your body that impact your health, physique, and exercise performance. Of course, this depends on the type of fats you choose. Remember, some fats harm and some fats heal. And others, well, their purported benefits are a bit exaggerated. That's okay though. You now have the information and tools to eat fat confidently. If anything seems uncertain, or if there's a concept you still don't quite grasp, go back and rewatch the videos as many times as you need. I highly recommend revisiting the omega-3 fat videos. And remember, you do have unlimited access. Of course, you can shoot me an email or post in the private TNT University Facebook group too. Thank you again for being a part of the TNT University tribe. It really does mean a lot to me. I hope you found this course beneficial. Please don't hesitate to let me know how I can improve to better help you and many others in the future. I'll talk to you soon.